Here right now, it's the main garden, it's the sun garden. So if you see a drone view of it, you will see there is the center and it's the shape of the sun. It's why it's a sun garden, oriented to the south. All the gardens, they have a name related to nature, related of what kind of animals you can find sometimes in those kind of gardens. The sun garden, and the sun garden, honey, it's approximately 70% of our food. 70,
Probably 80% of the food we
80% of
grow
our
is
food.
all in here, in this sort of surrounded by this. And actually, those are wild grapes there that the birds planted for us. And that have helped us improve the fence.
Wow.
So that the deer don't jump in.
Oh, very nice.
You see, because the fence is very low, but we put a line up top to discourage the deer, and then the grapes started growing on it, and so that even works even better. That's a good idea.
Very clever.
Because they're not going to jump through it.
Of course, they are volunteer, as Stefan said, and they just help us to control some animals. But we don't do nothing. We just try to manage it, but we don't do nothing.
She prunes the grapevines
Yeah.
so that the grapes grow better. The wild ones, too.
Oh my God! Look at this spider!
Oh, yeah, that's a typical garden spider.
Wow.
I can't remember its name. It's yellow and black.
She's doing the web. Oh, she's eating someone.
Eating something.
She's spinning it.
Yes.
Out of the surrounding areas and into there. And then when it overflowed, we continued it on a little very narrow canal going all the way to the creek.
Right.
And so by digging down, we keep the water, but we make it so that it stays in a smaller area so that the entire area isn't saturated. Just a smaller area is saturated. And then the rest of the area immediately surrounding it, of course, is going to be wetter. So we planted species that like water, like willow, like elderberry, like pumpkins. Our pumpkin patch is right there, and all sorts of native flowers. And then our garden is just a little bit further away, but it's not so far away that it doesn't have access to that water. See, that's our pumpkin patch.
So the pumpkin patch is here. So you have the rain garden over there, the pumpkin patch over there, and Stefan, like that, the squash vine just go wherever they want. No human, at a certain point, no human comes over there until, the end of the season. So it's his choice, and I told him, do it, honey, it's what you want to do.
And the vines start to dry up, that's when I can walk in.
So we have the other side of the pumpkin patch here.
See, the pumpkins look fresh, but
I can see your
yeah, there's
irrigation.
the little canal going up
Yeah.
to the. This is the overflow.
And I just decided to create this kind of natural fence, complete it again, but I just let the vegetation grow. So it indicates that there is something over there.
Yeah, so people don't walk there in it and like break their ankle or something.
Okay.
Got a walnut tree here with some walnuts in it. First year it has walnuts.
Oh.
Yeah, way up top though. Hard to find them. It's kind of hard to find them, but they're up there.
Back of the sun garden. So there is what Stefan calls a tree bonnet.
Les pantalons, yeah, because they look like there's a
Yeah,
pants.
so
When in the spring anyway, when there are no planes.
Yeah, and there's different kind of vegetables. We already picked them, so they are finished. Some other, they will be ready maybe in September, October. And especially Lisa, maybe Stefan will explain you what it is, but this plant is really special. And we don't plant it.
Yeah, this is called dodder, D-O-D-D-R. And apparently, when I first saw it, I had no idea what it was, and so I researched it. And it's a native plant. I can't remember, the animals that it supports, but what I did learn when I researched it is it's extremely rare. Native species and so on, they really like to know where it's been found. And like it's here, we've got it in a couple spots here. Just appeared one year, and most likely by animals planting. You see, that's one of the first things we did when we arrived was we apart from starting to get this garden ready. But everywhere else, we planted native shrubs and flowers to attract the animals so that they could plant stuff for us. And one of the first things the animals planted for us were wild black-cap raspberries. And after like 2 years here, we were harvesting enough black-cap raspberries to last us through the winter, and we didn't plant one of them.
Yeah.
And they weren't here when we arrived.
Oh.
There was none. And it was because of, supporting the wildlife that we got those. And it's the same thing with the wild grapes. There weren't any wild grapes this side of the forest out back. In the forest out back, but not here. And so the wildlife planted that too. Voila.
On va continuer ici, chérie?
Oui. People say, why do you use your house water to water? It's not treated, so it's natural. Why set up another pump?
Yeah.
Smart. Yeah.
Stefan, tell us the meaning behind the buckets here on this stick.
It's to often the animals will eat our vegetables only because they're thirsty, because it's a source of water. Because even with the creek, sometimes they're afraid to drink out of it because of what might be swimming in there, and the snakes and stuff like that. We have water snakes in there, and so we leave buckets around. Now we could leave smaller ones too, but anyways, these are bigger ones for deer, raccoons, and the sticks in there in case some smaller animal gets in there. Sometimes like a bee will get in there and it'll have a rough time getting out for some reason, or maybe even a frog. Even frogs sometimes will have a rough time getting out of there, so they can climb up the stick and get out. So that's what the sticks are for.
Awesome.
There is a
Lower
special,
sausage type one.
special
For things like
light.
squirrels and the chipmunks and rabbits.
Oh my goodness. It's very
One thing I
special.
have growing under
And
the
we have the last day, we have a very heavy rain. We were so happy.
Yeah, this is Joe
That's,
Pye weed, yes. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
Beautiful
pink stuff and
flowers.
there's white stuff.
For the greenhouse, we start all our plants in the greenhouse,
Take care of it.
but after that, we just continue only with tomatoes.
You know what I mean?
Why? Because 2 years ago, we have a blight and we lose all our tomatoes. I think 2 tomatoes, we finished with 2 tomatoes. So with the blight, Stefan said, okay, we're going to do some tomatoes in the greenhouse.
And but the advantage of not pruning the tomatoes is the hormone shows up. Oh, prune your tomatoes for you, and you won't lose everything. Groundnut. Groundnut.
Oh,
It's
a native potato.
yeah, but what I like is that these vines, look at that.
Yeah.
I just give her sticks and she do that by herself. It's incredible.
And you eat this potato?
Well, we haven't bothered to harvest them.
No.
Yeah, because we have so much.
But we will eventually. And it's very dry right now to harvest them but they're basically very close to the surface. They're not very big,
yeah.
Okay.
about that big,
Yes.
but they're in strings. They're like strings of pearls.
Yeah, yeah.
And so we'd have to kind of dig. It's a bit of an effort, but it's a pretty plant.
It is.
But it's really nice. And I'm just going to bring you to a spot. Our favorite spot. I think everywhere is our favorite spot.
Part gets damaged. The only part that might get damaged is not the. So if it were to stop working, I'd just cover it. They're very relatively inexpensive. Plastic ones we can take a couple bucks. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, I've got a video where I show how.
Sometimes I come here, I walk in. Not really silent, all the animals.
The bird.
So I will explain you something here. It's a kind of pyramid. All the pyramids you will see here, they are here because there is ant.
Yes.
Okay, and I protect them because it's huge. Literally, maybe for them it's a small village or a small city, and they had to drain the land because where you first stand, it was water too.
Wow.
And Stefan will explain a little bit how we manage that.
Yeah, these two gardens here were depressions that would have water in them after a rain. And most people think that you can't plant in there, which normally you couldn't, because if it never desaturates, then not much would grow. But we've laid down lots of sticks and dead logs and stuff like that. And then for about a year and a half, and then after that, we put compost on top of that and started to plant in them. And so they're gardens that, these gardens as well, we don't need to water them at all. And now there's what there is in here. And I think this is broccoli or cauliflower. It's not doing too well this year, but it's because there's tons and tons of potatoes
Oh, yeah.
that have not given them enough room, but that's fine. I'm steering away from broccoli and cauliflower in the future, and I'm just going to stick with kale and cabbage. I find broccoli and cauliflower take up, like when we harvest it, like if I really, really make an effort, in the past, I've made an effort to give it its space, to make sure all the weeds are gone, and to get a nice big cauliflower, a nice big broccoli. But for the space it takes up, you don't get as much of a harvest. And so I'd rather just concentrate on the cabbage and the kale.
And don't those white moths fly around? Don't they lay their eggs on there?
Yeah, that's the other thing. And because next year we might try some netting, but because we don't bother with that, cabbage does better. Because the moths, they'll lay their eggs, your worms will do their eating. But if the cabbage is strong enough, after the worms are done their eating, it's going to keep growing. Because the thing is, those worms eat the outside, and the growth comes from the inside.
We'll set up here too.
Yeah, and so here too we have curves that, because out back the neighbors have a pond that drains onto our property, and so I dug it now and channeled the water all the way through the property right out to the creek. Because before we moved in, we discovered that it was there, it's all food. Putting their roots down into the weeds. But here's a garden which I love. And it also doesn't need to be watered because it's watered through here. This is millet and sorghum and amaranth. Yep, so this is the millet, and up there that's the sorghum. And there are a couple of cattails too, which is pretty. And I did an experiment this year with, there are about 4 straw bales here that I put down here, and then put a bit of compost on top. And I planted onions and carrots directly into it. But expecting we'd get the rain. Until very recently, we've never had a hose coming all the way back here. And so and it's just not practical to water everything. So I was just relying on the rain. So the onions didn't grow very well. The carrots did actually grow. The onions grew too, but they stayed small. And the carrots are here, but they're a little bit stressed. But when the rain comes back, like they have until December to finish growing. So when the rain eventually comes back, they might continue to grow. And what's advantageous about using a straw bale is there's basically no weeds in it. And so, carrots are the worst they don't grow very well if there's tons of weeds. They just get completely
That's the one exception to your rule, isn't it?
Yeah, and so for instance, we had a lot of, in the main garden, we plant onions and carrots together because they don't compete with each other. Neither of them are aggressive. Both of them don't, neither of them do well with lots of weeds. And so we planted them together. One of them was in here. One of them was in our compost garden, which is a garden that from November to March, it's our compost bin for the kitchen. And then as of March, we stopped using it. We covered in leaves and stuff and wait until about mid-April, and then we planted it. So we planted our onions and our carrots in there, and they did really well. Because there's no when it's your compost bin, there's not that many weeds because everything's cooked. And we also did it in the main garden in a wet spot. There were lots of weeds, but what's interesting was the most of the weeds that were growing were something called sow thistle. Sow is like the female pig, so pig thistle, and it's a bit like lettuce. And so as soon as it would appear, we'd pick it and then bring it inside. And there's a ton of it, and we add it to our salads. Delicious. It tastes a bit like well, it's got the texture of bean sprout, with the flavor of lettuce. Very crunchy. And we were able to keep on top of those weeds and the carrots, and it's good well. But look at these grapes. These are wild grapes.
Yeah.
They're not quite ready yet, though. They're still a little sour. But we press them. We freeze them and then thaw them and press them for juice. And the juice has got a high acid content, so it makes a great like salad dressing, like instead of vinegar.
Right.
And and a fantastic juice. We'll mix it with our elderberries, and the combination is really nice. And another thing we mix in with our elderberries and our grapes is something we have that's called the nanny berry.
So this is my outdoor kitchen.
Yeah.
And this is a table that Stefan built for me from skid. He built that, he works with it, and after that he told me, okay, I don't want it anymore. I take it, I transform it as a big kitchen table. And you can cut everything. I have everything. You can cook over there. And for the dinner, it's here because I prefer to be away
What we'll
from
do
bugs.
is we'll put them on the
Yes,
train.
me too.
And it's helped a lot of people who comes here just to have less stress. They are really quiet and they,
Put them back
they can enjoy the nature
in the bag.
without some bugs.